Acapulco, Mexico. This is Anarchast.
This is Rudkowski. This is Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. We're here in Acapulco, Mexico. I have the dollar vigilante, Jeff Berwick. Jeff Berwick, how are you?
I don't care. This is Jeff Berwick, dollar vigilante. I hate my life and my existence.
That's huge, huge! In no way, shape, or form is that not huge. What else do you have to say, dollar vigilante?
I don't care.
This is Rudkowski. We're here in Anarchapulco. I have the dollar vigilante, and great to have you here in Acapulco. Let's talk about global finance.
This is Jeff Berwick of the dollar vigilante. I am severely depressed. I feel like we could do better, but it doesn't matter.
Well, I want to say, first of all, this is huge, huge. In no way, shape, or form can you not say this is not huge.
I don't know. I'm at a total loss right now.
All right. So anyway, you know who I am. You know who he is. Rudkowski of Weird Change. I'm Jeff Berwick, dressed in his weird hippie clothes, and he's obviously destroying. I have to burn the suit afterwards. But yeah, Luke's back in Acapulco, man. Good to see you again. You were just in India. We've got to hear all about that. You're going to be coming back, of course. I don't know if you're going to leave Acapulco, actually. Looks like you're pretty happy here for Anarchapulco and your We Are Change Media University for the third year in a row. So lots of stuff going on. But yeah, let's talk about what's going on. Last time I saw you was in London for the Infinite Man Summit. And then you went to India, and you went to some other places too, I think. So what's going on?
Yeah, I've been, after London, been to Budapest, got back to New York, went back to India. India was very intense. Actually, when I was there, the country was going through a whole currency reset. So 80% of all the bills on the market were just totally wiped off the entire market. The government said they're irrelevant. They don't even matter anymore. They're useless. So obviously it caused a huge panic, obviously it caused a huge run on the banks, and it was a huge status effort that made people bring in their money, and then at the banks they checked your fingerprints, they checked your ID, they checked how many taxes you're paying, and if you didn't pay the taxes on the money that you got on the black market, and India is all black market money. I mean, you go to a taxi, you go to a restaurant, you go to any store, it's all a cash business. There's barely any credit cards there. Only major cities like Delhi and Mumbai do people use credit cards. But when I was in Goa, no one used credit cards at all, and I was like, holy cow, I was literally broke with no money, lines down the block. You had to wait an entire day just to get 2,000 rupees, which was $20 US, and that didn't go far for even a day. Money exchange places down the block, and then they even had racial specific ATM lines. So they had the white people ATM lines, which you had to wait all day, and then they had the regular Indian ATM lines where people waited day and night, sometimes days, in order just to get their money, just to transfer money, just to be able to live and survive, and that caused a huge, horrible condition where people in hospitals were denied treatment because they couldn't pay for that treatment. There was a number of people who died, not only in hospitals but also in the panic, also from getting heart attacks. There was the information wasn't spread correctly, so a lot of people just thought that they went completely bankrupt and started committing suicide in India because the message by the government wasn't communicated effectively enough. And of course, the government didn't prepare for this. The government did this as a surprise measure, didn't print enough money. There was not enough supply, so people came to the banks and they couldn't even get their own money out, couldn't even live and survive. This was supposedly done in an effort to help the poor people in the middle class, but ultimately what it did was it made the few elites in India just go off to a bunch of people and say, here, you could exchange this money for me. Under a certain amount, you didn't have to get taxed for it. And just rich people just, commissioned other people to, launder their money. But it was really intense. I mean, we saw panic in Delhi, we saw huge lines, we saw people very angry. In Goa, which is kind of like a hippy-dippy spiritual place. People took a different effort, and the community came together. And I went to a store, and I had no money, and I was hungry, and I walked in there, and they're like, "Yeah, you could just, just give me your name." Didn't even take my ID. They were like, "Just give me your name and pay us back when you can." So seeing the community and seeing people come together that way, help each other out, to borrow money, create a whole lending system, was really awesome. But it really taught me how to live without money at all for those few days, and it was a very interesting experiment, and it was fascinating to see. I mean, we saw the lines in Venezuela for those ATMs. Now they got worse, but they were a lot worse inside of India, and it was also something that was very psychological, because when you're in India, you see things that you don't see anywhere around the world. I mean, I've seen it in Manila, Philippines, but India is just a whole nother country in itself, with just abject poverty, with horrible, deplorable conditions that people are forced to live in. Wild animals. I volunteered there at an animal shelter. I spent some time with some street kids. It's a really touching experience that makes you, humble. It makes you appreciate all the things that we take for granted every single day, because a lot of people around the world don't have that. There's over 400 million people that live underneath the poverty line in India. So it's a huge number. My friend got typhoid there. She almost died. I had to help her and take care of her. So it was a very intense trip in general. I'm very happy I did it, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, we actually had a guy on Anarchast a few episodes ago from India, and he talked about the cash issue, which is absolutely insane. I talk about all the stuff governments are doing around the world and how crazy it is. That is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Yeah. It'd be like in the U.S. canceling just tonight. Barack Obama comes on TV and he goes, all $100 bills, all $50 bills, and all $20 bills, they're not worth anything anymore. Yep. You can go to the bank and maybe try to change them, but we don't really have anything to change it with.
Exactly.
Just imagine the pandemonium, right?
Yeah.
And for you to be there, and a lot of people thought, right on time, Luke, you CIA or something. just by chance, you happened to be there. And I saw your video on it. We'll put a link to that. We'll put a link to the Anarchast episode. We'll put a link to your one from India, because I thought it was actually one of your best videos, because you're just like, well, there's no money, and you still got by. You always find a way to get by, just like we did in Venezuela, just like we do everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a bit of a message to people too, is everyone worries about all kinds of stuff all the time, what happens if this happens or if that happens, and people are prepping and all this sort of stuff. I don't actually worry too much about it, because we'll just find a way, no matter what happens. That's what we do, right? That's what humans do. It might be irritating or stressful or possibly even dangerous, but find a way.
It doesn't have to be if you're aware of your surroundings and you know what you're getting yourself into, and you could prep mentally and physically beforehand. But fear is the killer. I mean, it not only creates stress in your body, it not only decays your physical body, but it also ruins your mental state and turns you into attracting the things that you're trying to avoid by just being engulfed in that emotion. Fear is so important, and throughout my life I've been trying to face it head on, and I've been trying to go after the things I'm afraid of. I was afraid of all these elites, the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and Zbigniew Brzezinskis and Tony Blairs and Bill Clintons. I was terrified of them, especially when first I became aware of all this right after 9/11 in New York City. It was terrifying. I mean, the fear was palpable. It was not only in the air physically with all the dust flying all around, but it was ingrained in us with just total mass propaganda for days and weeks and months on end. There was nothing else on the television except towers coming down and bin Laden. That terror was felt. It was extremely effective in a psychological way to damage people and to inflict those kind of emotional weapons that they use on us. So to me, my kind of philosophy is you're afraid of something, face it, go after it. Look it dead in the eyes and question the crap out of it and chase them down the street or make them hide in closets like we did, We Are Change UK did to Dearlove, the former head of MI5, I believe. But I think that's why I'm also here in Mexico, to kind of recuperate. India was very intense. A lot of the stuff people haven't seen, not even on my Snapchat, because it was just too intense, too mentally draining, and too unsafe to also show people exactly what's happening. But literally, you have like the richest house in the world, this 27-foot skyscraper that one family is living in, and then 5 minutes down the line, you just see a kid playing with rocks. And it's also important to know, if you're ever going to travel to countries like India or the Philippines, or countries where poverty is very important, whatever you do, do not give money to street kids. A lot of times the family member who pushes them to be on the street is abusive. A lot of times they personally abuse drugs or alcohol. Other times, in worse situations, they even have gang members who use these kids as a way to extort money out of regular people, and they never see that money as well. There's horrible stories of Indians of people mutilating their kids in order to be able to beg for more money and get more money from the tourists that are there. So it's an interesting dichotomy, and I always kind of try to be careful not to sound exploitative or self-righteous. So it is a continual battle in how I express this and how I share this, but I've been very reluctant in India just to not be one of those assholes online who are like, look at me, I'm better than you because I do. No. The world is a lot more gray than it is black and white, and people need to realize that.
Yeah, you bring up fear, and one of the things I've always noticed in my life is you always know that these people, and they're always worried about getting sick, and they always get sick.
Yeah.
And then you know some people, and they're like always worried they're going to get mugged. They're like scared to go anywhere, like any part of town or any other country where they haven't been before, and wherever they go, they get mugged. It's because you actually attract that energy.
Exactly. Your thoughts become your reality. Your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny. It all begins on a very micro level. I stole that from Yoda, and I keep using it from Yoda because it's one of my favorite phrases, because it all really begins on a micro level, on such a small level that you may not even recognize, that you may not even put into your own realization, but it ultimately begins on such a small level as positive visualization. People call it manifestation and all this other hippie stuff, and butchered it and destroyed it and corporatized it, and I understand that side of it, and I find it very offensive as well. But practically in my life, in my existence, it has worked in incredible, beautiful, magical ways where I was able to transform my life and live a life of total freedom, and be able to do and say whatever I want, wake up whenever I want, and have a true life and a true purpose of trying to make the world a better place. It's something that I always wanted. I had to work hard for it. Everyone does. But it also just started with me having pure confidence and saying, no, I'm going to get this. I'm going to have this no matter what. And coming from that point of view, coming from that perspective, there's nothing that could stop you. But I think it would be important to talk about healing. I mean, you've been doing a whole bunch of stuff. You look down here, you got all these crazy, I don't know even what the hell you got here. Should I even touch this? He's been doing colonics too, right? Colonics, coffee colonics? I don't know if I should.
Enemas, they're
coffee
awesome,
enemas. I don't know if I should touch any of this
I throw
other
in
stuff.
some colloidal silvers, some apple cider vinegar.
You got soft lube. Yeah, soft lube here. Oh, goodness. Jeff, come on, man.
Hey, you can't get in dry. It hurts, man. I got some steroids. These are like new steroids, actually. I talked about that on our HGH and steroid episode. You got me into this stuff, 5-HTP. Said it helps with serotonin and stuff like that. I'm on everything. I'm on HGH. I'm on steroids.
I definitely want to talk about that. To me, I kind of have my own regimen and my own kind of way of trying to make myself the best version of myself. A lot of it includes having a gratitude journal. A lot of it includes physical exercising, which is also very important for the blood flow in your body. Hanging upside down too, to get the blood rushing, because a lot of times it's stagnant blood that hurt us physically, and our bodies are perfect representations of what our brains are, and that's why you could even hack things and even have like the Superman posture set up before you do a speech and talk, and your brain is tricked into believing you're confident, and you naturally do become more confident. There's been amazing case studies out there of two peer groups, 10 people each. One of the peer groups was told to stand in the Superman position, and another group was told to do nothing at all, and they were interviewed for job interviews, and then the boss, we got a little doggy here visiting us here as well. the boss didn't know who was who, but 80% of the time he hired, during the job interviews, he hired the individuals that had the Superman pose because he said that they were more reassured of themselves, they were more confident. So if you naturally slouch down, if you naturally, Lucy, you're going to bite me. Oh,
No, she doesn't bite. She just
Okay.
kisses.
When you naturally slouch down, when you naturally become kind of introverted, you stop a lot of the blood flow in your body, and it has a mental effect on you. So physically, exercising, moving your body around, hanging upside down is also very important for me. And then I, of course, use other supplements and other dietary things like coconut oil. Take a teaspoon of that every morning when I wake up. That's a small bit of my regimen, but I'm interested in what you've been going through. Maybe not so much about this stuff, but it'll be interesting to hear what new stuff you've been trying, and how do you think it's working on trying to make you a happier, better version of yourself.
Well, I'd rather hear about you because I've traveled. Well, you're younger. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
But seeing you, how you can travel and work and go, and you can even go out and party, and the next day you're just back and going. So you've got, you've obviously got a lot of things right. I am definitely older. I'm 46, and
Jeff's secret. Jeff looks very young. His secret is literally scotch and cigarettes. That's it. Video over. We're done.
It kind of pickles you a little bit.
Jeff does not look 46. I mean, let me know in the comment section below if Jeff looks 46. He does not look 46. Did you have plastic surgery?
No.
He did.
But anyway, so a couple of years ago, I kind of realized I was all screwed up, totally fucked up, really, and decided to try to make some changes. And of course, I did ayahuasca, helped quite a bit, and I did iboga, which was like, bam, changed everything. But I still am not very happy ever. And it wasn't until a couple months ago I kind of realized I was kind of depressed. And I talked to Sasha Daygame, you hung out with him in London and Budapest. Great guy, he'll be in Acapulco too. And I said, I think I'm depressed. He goes, no shit. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, of course you are. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, every time I talk to you, you say, I don't want to live anymore. And yep. I was like, but isn't that like how everyone is? He's like, no. And I was like, oh, so what do I do? And then you told me this 5-HTP, and everyone tells you, I actually put on Facebook, I had literally hundreds of recommendations. I think I did almost all of them. Like you can see my whole desk is full of shit. I am feeling better. I'm still not perfect. I'm actually going to try something this week. I don't even know if I told you. Hypnosis. I got connected through Sasha Daygame to a guy he says he's cured like the most uncurable, like craziest, worst, most suicidal, worst people, like they're just destroyed. No one can help them, and he's cured them through hypnosis. Yeah. So I'm going to try that. My first one's this week. He says that I'll be pretty happy pretty soon. We'll see. I don't know what it's even like to be happy anymore. It's been decades. But you know me, how would you describe me, right? Because if we have a few drinks, I seem pretty happy, right?
Very happy. The reason I'm shirtless is because Jeff goes shirtless every time we go out, and his shirt goes flying off, and security comes running by, and there's usually a crazy, chaotic scene and situation unfolding, which is also very fun to be a part of and to experience. I'm a very non-judgmental person. Some of the stuff you've done was batshit crazy. And I'm very accepting of people, and I think all of us, and I think throughout my just short existence in this world, I'm seeing that almost everyone is damaged some way.
Oh yeah.
But it takes a very strong person to take responsibility and accept those damages and be able to try to fix them and progress them, because a lot of people bury them under bad activities or substances and try to mask them. And I know you've been dealing with personal issues like that as well, instead of just facing them head on. So it's good seeing that progression. I mean, I remember when we first hung out in Chile, we can't even tell you the stories of what happened in Chile. It's been getting less and less wild, less and less crazy, and I think you've been coming more to a very important point in your life where you're, finally facing all the, dark stuff that you have to go through. And we all have to go through it. I don't mean to be a preacher. We all have issues. We all have problems, especially psychologically, that we all have to deal with. But the better you accept it, the better you aren't ashamed of it, the better you're going to be. And you've been point blank, dead honest with people, which I respect full-heartedly. And you don't give a damn. You're like, this is who I am. This is
once
the
you
truth.
get to a certain point, that's one of the things, right, that some people say about me is like, you don't seem to even care. Like if you get killed, it's like, no, I don't, because I almost look forward to it a lot of times, right? You go through. One of the things you said about fixing your issues is, if you would have talked to me like 5 years ago and said, what are your issues? I'd go, I don't think I have any. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. I didn't realize I had them. I thought, oh, I'm fine, right? Like, look, I don't kill anyone. I don't rape anyone. I don't beat anyone. I'm generally nice. I have a pretty good life, as you can see. Like, I'm fine. But as it progresses and as you continue to not deal with things that you didn't even know you had to deal with, it just gets worse and worse to the point where it's pretty much kill yourself or fix them. And I decided, obviously I'm still here, to try to fix them. And it's been hard, but it's also been really great at the same time, because it really gives you like, whoa, I just fixed another thing. Like, whoa, what else can I fix? And what else is wrong with me? And the more you look into it, like when you first sort of realize, okay, maybe there's something wrong, and you find one little thing and you fix it, you're like, then you find out there's like 10 other things, and then it's like, it just never ends. And it's like, holy cow, there's so many things wrong with me. I had no idea. Like, there's nothing major. Like, they're just little things. Like, dealing with social situations has always been an issue, which I used to mask a lot with alcohol, which now I don't need, which is interesting. So I've fixed that. It took forever. It took 20 years. Little things. I'm trying to think, like, why am I depressed? For that, I talked to the hypnosis guy, and he's like, did you get really hurt when you were a kid? I was like, no, that's the thing. Like, I can't figure out what happened. Yeah. And he's like, well, what was your dad like? And they get into all this sort of stuff. It's like, oh, that maybe caused that. And then I didn't deal with it. And then and you just end up with all this stuff, and it's inside you, and you don't even know it's there.
Yep. And it's deep in your subconscious, and it affects you in a huge, tremendous way. But dealing with it, if it wasn't hard, it wouldn't be worth it. And I find like a lot of the adversities and a lot of problems we face in this world, whenever you do go after them, whenever you finally do reach that pinnacle point of overcoming them, it's such a beautiful and incredible feeling. On an unrelated note, I used to be afraid of heights. I went skydiving, almost died, but it felt like such a beautiful, powerful experience that I could do anything, because ultimately the grand conclusion is that you can. And it's an uphill battle, and it's not easy. It's something that will push you to extremes in order to deal with. I know I had my own personal issues that I dealt with when it came to ego and insecurity, and it's something that I would never try to admit. It's something that I would never try to face. It's something that I would close the door behind, run, scream, and curse at whenever it would come up or whenever it was brought up to me. But really, hitting that wall, hitting that lowest point in your life, there's only one way up. There's only one way to go, and it's up. So understanding the kind of virtues that you go through, because I went through a very similar path, not as intense as yours, but a very intense path where I was at the lowest of my lows. And ever since then, I just tried to be the best human being I could ever be. And I'm still not perfect. I'm still not a freaking Mother Teresa perfect butthole out there who will tell you what to do, but I'm working on it, and I think we're all in a continual way of working on it and building on it, but because there's a lot of things that we don't see, there's a lot of things that it's very hard to really quantify, because it's impossible to be in somebody else's head. It's impossible to live somebody else's life when you have to live yours, and it's we're getting deep here.
Yeah, we actually only planned to just wear each other's clothes and do something kind of funny. But we had no plan beyond that, and of course, as we normally do, we get quite deep. But we live in a society as well where this stuff is just not talked about. It's not taught. Of course, you go to your 12 years of government indoctrination camp, and they don't say once about your self-confidence
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's just, memorize this bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you memorize it good, you get an A, and that's
Yeah.
it. And then you go home and turn on the football, and then after a while you're drinking beer and never really thinking about like the actual important things, right?
Or how to have good relationships and loving, positive relationships where you respect the other person and give them boundaries and not treat them like crap. And I think a lot of reasons why relationships are at such a downfall as they are now. It's pretty difficult out there, to be honest with you. You know that. And I think the main reason of that is because a lot of people have a lot of pain within themselves and they don't know how to express it. So whenever they get a lover, they exact that pain on them so they don't have to deal with it. And I think that's why, marriages and divorces are high as they are right now. And I think that's why we're living in such a dysfunctional society. But ultimately, I think this is going to be the key. This is going to be the solution to living in a world where government is not needed. Because when the people could finally get their shit together, live in a harmonious way. There was a great meme saying that, if people would just be cool, we wouldn't need a president. Just promise to be cool and everything would be fine. And I think if human beings, if we could move past a lot of the superficial, a lot of the egotistical that's pushed on us and pressured on us throughout our early existence, throughout mainstream media, throughout the schooling system, throughout the parenting system. If we just move away from that and all treat each other with respect and non-violently and learn to truly love human beings, only then the government would collapse because there would be no need for it. There would be no need for a central authority. There would be no need for a police officer to stop spousal abuse that happens. There would be no need for crimes because, I lived in times in my life where I had no money at all, and I had times in my life where I had enough money for everything. My happiness level didn't increase or decrease depending on that money, and it doesn't. There have been psychological studies saying if people make $70,000 a year, they're just as happy as the person making $1 million, even more. Happiness doesn't upgrade past $70,000. But I think if people are able to take that to a deeper level, if you treat other people well and you have social currency, which I try to accumulate as much as I can of, social currency meaning my relationships with random people that I meet down the street, I don't even call the people who follow me fans, I just call them friends. I landed in Mumbai, I made a Facebook post, and this amazing couple was like, come by, we're going to show you around, we're going to hang out. And they were just friends that I never met before, and they were really cool, awesome human beings where we were able to help each other out. And they were able to show me an amazing time and show me Mumbai from a real perspective from the Indians. They took me to the slums, got me lost in there, almost missed my flight. It was crazy and wild. But just really an incredible journey. Relating back to social currency. I didn't need to hire a tour guide. I didn't need all the money in the world. And you don't need all the money in the world to do whatever you want. I travel hack. Many people think, oh, Luke's like a millionaire or something because he's traveling here and here. Like, I don't spend any. No, my travel.
He has ways.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I can vouch for him. You probably don't want to give away all your tricks and tips, but yeah, when you started We Are Change, and I think one of your slogans is "Be the change you want to be in the world."
Yeah.
I never knew what that meant until the last couple of years. As I've been changing, I can see everything around me changing, and it starts with yourself, of course. It's changed my whole family. They've just become, everything's just become so much better because I'm getting better. And they can see it, and they feed off that energy. And even we have a lot of anarcho-capitalists here in Acapulco, as you know, and I can actually see the changes in the whole town because we're all over the place. We're all like talking about voluntary transactions. We're all investing in stuff and buying stuff and all voluntary, and people can see it, and they're kind of like, hey, that's pretty cool. Maybe we should be more like that instead of just robbing somebody or something, right? And so, yeah, that saying is way more powerful than I knew.
Yeah, energy is attractive. It bonds to certain different energies, and you can even feel it when you're around somebody who's in a horrible mood, who's just a despotic human being who's at a very low point in his life. You feel it in your heart, you feel it in your gut, you feel it in the stomach, like, holy cow, I haven't even talked to this person. It could also be micro expressions that people are expressing and our subconscious picks up, but our regular consciousness does not. But you exemplify it without even critically thinking but you know it at that very moment. So if you are, I never drank this before, sorry, I'm like burping here. If you are just a very happy, positive, grateful human being, you will attract abundance because you are already abundant, even if you don't have the financial capital to do whatever, to have in your bank account. It ultimately doesn't matter because on a deeper level, when we do exit this physical realm, we're not going to take any of that stuff back. So I know deep down it's meaningless and it doesn't matter anything. I know I could do anything I want. And I came from literally having no money to traveling all over the freaking world without even spending any money.
I've seen it.
And other situations happen where I just open myself up and I'm saying, look, the universe will freaking. I sound like such a hippie. I'm so sorry.
It's true though. It's true. I've seen it. I've seen it enough that it's real.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm gonna open myself up to life. I'm gonna open myself up to any situation. If it's bad, I'm gonna make it good. If it's a challenge, I'm gonna see it as an opportunity. If and again, once you reframe your mind for that grateful, positive kind of mentality, nothing could stop you. Nothing could impede you.
Yeah, when I had my internet company, I was very young. I was 25, and all of a sudden I was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was almost a celebrity almost everywhere I went. Sort of like Mark Zuckerberg way back then, and then it just all collapsed.
Yeah, you lost it all.
Yeah, and actually, one of the things that you just brought up, like crying and stuff like that, I always thought, and this is against society about how men should be and stuff.
Yeah, you're a pussy if you cry.
Right. So I just always, I'm okay, and I think I've done that my whole life to the point where I just got this. I got to get something out quite a bit. But one of the things about it was that a lot of people would say, that's horrible. You lost everything because of this tech bubble crash. But what did it do? It made me learn about how this whole financial system works. The first book I read was Creature from Jekyll Island. I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me about this stuff? Yeah. And now I'm on a whole new path because of it, telling people about it. It's brought me all kinds of amazing friends like yourself, all kinds of amazing experiences. And then, I had, about Gulf Coast Chile, I had that problem. I got totally defrauded, and I was very suicidal at that moment in time. But that made me get super strong. I was so low that I had to just do something. And it's built me up into I'm way stronger than I was a few years ago. No one can hurt me anymore. Yeah. So and you talk to most people, when you talk to them about what were the really bad things that happened in your life, most people will say, you know what, it actually turned out to be a good thing. It's that blessing in disguise sort of a thing, because it made me change and get better, and brought me a better life. Well, I think that camera died, and we got to go to a free Rossathon anarchist party over with Nathan Freeman. We should mention Acapulco. You're going to be there again this coming February 25th to 28th. You're going to be doing your Change Media University.
Not only that, but I'm mixing it up. Going to do life coaching and positive visualization, meditation, laughing yoga. We're going to be doing running exercises, physical exercises. It's going to be wild. I'm going to totally mix it up and totally make it something crazy. We may have to change the price point on that because I want to do something completely different, and I'm going to sit down, get back home to New York City, and then totally lay out a new program, trying to create more super soldiers.
Awesome, yeah. Just hanging out with Luke for a day is worth $100 or whatever you're going to charge. As you can see, he's just a really interesting guy, and I always learn stuff from him. He didn't teach me about how to drink my own urine. That was the only one thing. But I actually never looked into this laughing yoga. I want to look into that.
You got to come to a class.
All right, I might be there. I might be exhausted after 4 days in Acapulco, but yeah, check it out. We'll have all the links down below. And so this is Luke Rudkowski, and a huge show. No way, shape, or form. This was not a huge show. I'd like to thank my guest, Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante.
Love you.
Go to anarchapulco.com to stake your place in history. The world might just never be the same. Evacuate the state. Brave the future.